I'd like to call a meeting to order. Almighty God, you have blessed us with memory, reason, and skill. Help us use them wisely in service for our town government. We ask thee in thy holy name, amen. We'll salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everybody here this evening. I'd like to, is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the board? Yes.
John Southwick with John Filion representing the Champlain Fire District. I sent you a letter, and the letter I will read. Champlain Fire District would like you to consider further emphasizing and perhaps adding restrictions to the present personally set fire rules. We understand that only wood products are allowed to be burned. Therefore, public awareness notices that this might be published, stating categorically that other items, such as garbage, plastics, and use of burn barrels, are strictly prohibited. Please also make known to the public that anyone starting a wood fire, inform the code officer, fire district, before the fire is started and after it has been extinguished, and have someone present, burn site at all times. We also request the town board discuss and insist through the powers that be that strict heavy fines be implemented for all violators. We further request that no fires of any kind be allowed during the months of April and May. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Mickey, if we are to require a ban on burning barrels, do we need a public hearing on that?
I would think you would have to have some kind of local law or an amendment to the town code that would include specifically those things. Right now you have some general language in there, but it's really general.
Vague.
I mean, it's very, very vague. I just want to reiterate what Dr. Southwick said, that this spring, the majority of the fires that I was called out to in the fire department were set by burn barrels that just got out of control. And the months of April and May happen to be the two driest months, and these fires, once they get caught on the ground, I mean, the woods caught fire, fields caught fire, property damage. It's just very expensive for the fire departments to mend materials, the equipment, and luckily no one got hurt. I truly believe in this day and age there are no reason to have a burn barrel in your backyard. First of all, if you have that, the neighbors are complaining, so that's another issue. So I just think it's time the town will take a look at this. And go ahead.
Okay. Is that a zoning issue?
Well, it could be, but frankly, I think it's probably more just a local ordinance type issue. I mean, it's not something generally you put in zoning, because it's not like a per se use or anything like that. Like you would think of under zoning, like the use of a property or use of a building or whatever the case may be. It's
a violation?
I think it's more of a local ordinance or local property issue. So it's something that I think you can adopt by some type of local law. Where is it found now, Mickey, in the town code? Is there a reference to it in the town code now?
There's a reference to burning where it has a definition of what you can and can't burn, but again, it's very, very vague.
What's that in? Is that just under the town code somewhere?
Yeah, it's a separate section, I believe.
Yeah, so I think what you really want to do, if you wanted to change that or amend that, would be by local law.
Okay.
I think, excuse me, go ahead.
I don't feel that it's proper to blame everybody for a few stupid people. I mean, after all, people that use the burning barrels, most of them are out there watching them. They're taking care of them. And I don't feel it's fair or justified for everybody, for it to depend on everybody. If you're not there and you're not watching it, fine. Fine them. But if you're doing what you should be doing and you're only putting the wood and things and you're watching it, I don't see why it has to be like that.
Is there a state law now that bans burning barrels?
DEC and the Sheriff's Department are the ones that monitor any burning activities, where the DEC has probably the greater authority, I would say. And they set things based on where you're located in the states, and there are fire districts, fire towns, which are in the Adirondack Park, and where there's a lot of wooded areas. We don't qualify, or we don't fall in either one of those, but we do come under some form of their jurisdiction as far as what you can burn. You can't burn plastics anyplace. You know, I mean, there are some exceptions where the farmers burn plastics, but that's even arguable according to what this ranger said at that meeting I went to last month. So, but I don't think that that's the problem. I think the problem is burn barrels. I mean, a lot of the complaints I get are burn barrels. Neighbors complaining about people's burn barrels and the smoke after nightfall, and they can't sleep, and everything else that goes along with it.
Doc, do you have something else you want to?
Well, I think also the important part of this is that there be some sort of punitive effort, that you just don't say don't burn, and then what's the penalty? Because they got called, the fire department got called a couple of different times, same fire, I believe burning tires. And as far as I know, I don't know whether anybody was arrested, were they, Vicki?
I believe the DEC did issue tickets to somebody. I'm not sure who. I haven't really heard yet.
Well, that's what we'd like, you know, is to have some teeth put into this ruling, if there is possibility, so that the, as I said, there'll be some penalty.
Okay.
Now, would this include like people that have like a fire pit outside built out of stone during those months of, was it April and May? That they can't burn?
That was a suggestion, I take it. You were encouraging.
Or is it just burn barrels, or is it just no fires outside in April and
What
May?
you just described falls under what the DEC refers to as recreational fires, campfires, or you know, you're having a cookout and you're cooking over, and those aren't regulated. The only time that those would not be allowed would be if the DEC called a no burn, according to this ranger. Now, we went into that in great detail.
Okay, so it sounds like you're just talking about burn barrels.
Burn barrels in general.
Burn barrels, unattended fires, or
That's the other thing, unattended fires.
Well, it
No,
shouldn't be
that's-
unattended
That's not
anyway.
good to begin with, is it? Anything unattended.
Well, that's something that could be incorporated. I don't know what's in the current language in your law, but that's certainly some kind of penalties and accumulated penalties or whatever can be incorporated into a local law to address that.
actually the penalties that the town had. We had a meeting with the emergency services person there, Eric Day, I think his name, with the sheriff and the DEC, and the town's penalties were the most strict of all the three, other than the DEC, which I was surprised, because this was all about this tire burn issue and who had the greatest teeth in the law. They could catch the person that was burning the tires. The town had the stiffest penalties, other than the DEC, once you met their criteria, but you had to be burning 1,000 tires and so on and so forth. So we have a stiff penalty in there. It's just, you know, we just have to clarify exactly what you want to do with it.
Okay. Yes.
Not that I've ever disagreed with John before, but
Oh,
I think-
praise the Lord.
I think putting in there that it's April and May is kind of arbitrary, because we've just had a very wet May. March this year was probably a lot drier than May was, and April, as we know, was very, very dry. So I think, you know, putting in come the end of June, we could have a drought, and
April and May is probably when they have people intentionally set grasses on fire. They used to anyway. A lot of people did.
yeah, but there was
That's something that we can put in there.
Actually,
I don't think there was any grass fires in May this year. You know, a lot of them in April.
Yeah.
the town can declare a no burn at any time, just a town board motion, according to the DEC guy.
Okay.
Maybe that April and May, you know, you're identifying two specific months, Whereas, like you're saying, it could be other months where
Yeah.
the town board could declare a no burn.
And
Because not all areas are subject to the same type of weather here.
And we need to account for people that are not being responsible and start imposing penalties, correct?
It's still permissible to burn brush
Yes.
and leaves and stuff, a controlled burn, am I correct at that? Okay.
no, but that's not what you asked. You asked no burning
That's right.
at all in April and May, and I think that's too arbitrary.
Well, yeah, just call ahead. Yes, John?
It's too arbitrary, but yes. I would say, I didn't check the figures, but I would bet you that 75% of the grass fires this year were caused by burn barrels.
And they're
People
75%
throw
were in
cardboard
April.
and stuff like that in there, there's a little breeze that comes up. It wasn't when they lit it. A little breeze comes up, a piece of cardboard goes across the field, and it's just like dynamite in there. That travels so fast, it's pathetic.
And we did have an extremely dry April.
And we're saying April and May. April and May usually are the two dry months. That's usually the 2 months we have the most trouble. Mainly April and into May.
Okay. We will look into this.
But our biggest thought is if something happens, we need some teeth to be able to do something to these people. And it's usually the same ones all the time. That's the biggest problem we've got.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's a big expense. It costs money to roll those trucks and manpower, and then it's the
Your
potential for
people's
somebody to get
time,
hurt.
the cost of doing it, it's just, and God forbid we'd ever hurt somebody.
When do you guys meet?
First
Third-
Monday of the month.
Third Tuesday of every
Oh,
month.
third Tuesday for the district, yeah.
Third Tuesday would you guys have any objection if I attended and got
No,
together
you
with you
can't
guys?
come. Yes, so it's open, it's open.
Okay,
Meetings are open.
third Tuesday.
Something in the meeting at one time here, should we check out and if we did something like this.
Can you check that for us, Joe?
I mean, you've got till next spring, I mean, we just want,
Well, I agree that we should come up
and
with something.
we can't make the laws, you guys have to make the laws. That's the whole thing, that's why we're here.
And we agree. Something needs to be done. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to bring before the board in the public forum? Is it Mr. Clark?
Yes, my name is Tom Clark, and I came to visit and say hello to you all. I represent the Rural Community Assistance Program. We've done business before with your predecessor, and our specialties are working on water and wastewater systems. I'm an engineer. I help communities with things like income surveys to get grant funding. There's a whole list of things that we're good at, but I realize that you have a lot of work to do here tonight, so I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I'll give you a couple of my latest newsletters and some of my business cards, and you can get on with business. And I'll stop by and chat sometime when I'm not taking up a lot of public time.
That's okay. Thank you for
I
coming.
might just hang around for a few minutes just to...
Yes.
Thanks, Larry. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thanks. Does anyone else have anything to bring before the board in public forum? Okay. I need approval of May 9th board minutes.
Make a motion to approve about 40 minutes.
Second. Is there any questions on the minutes of May 9th? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We have a public hearing on local law number 1 pertaining to sewer law. Julie, would you read that ad that was in the paper, I guess?
Please take further notice that a public hearing will be held at the regular meeting of the town board of the town of Champlain on Tuesday, June 13, 2006 at 7 p.m. at the town office building, 729 Route 9, Champlain, New York, as follows. Local law number 1 of the year 2006 entitled A Local Law Amending Local Law number 4 of the year 1997 entitled Town of Champlain Sewer Law. All persons interested will be given an opportunity to speak or to offer written opinions, either for or against the proposed local law. Copies of said proposed local law is available for review at the town clerk's office. The meeting is open to the public. Other business will be taken up at this meeting by order of the town board of the town of Champlain.
Thank you, Julie. We need to approve new water and sewer rates. The Village of Champlain is charging us, we in turn charge our outside users, outside the village users. They're raising their rates, we need to approve those. Do we need to do those separately, water and sewer?
You have to approve the local law first.
Okay. Then is there any questions from any of the board members on the local law? We need to approve this local law first. If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Don't we need to go into a public hearing on the motion?
It's just a discussion from the general public.
Okay, is there anyone here in the public that would like to address the water and sewer rates the village charge us? We in turn charge our users. Okay, if not, we need a motion to approve the local law then, first.
I make a motion, we approve the local law readjusting the water and sewer rates.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any questions on this? Roll call vote. Craig?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Bruce?
Yes.
Jules?
Yes.
Yes for myself, that passes. Now we have to adjust the rates themselves. On this, we'll do the water first, I guess. I don't know if it matters which one's first. The village is raising our rates 99 cents per 1,000 gallons of usage. We were paying $5.85, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Am I correct, Julie?
Yes.
Per 1,000 gallons. And the rate's going to $6.84? Okay, that's a 99 cents increase. And on top of that, we charge Julie $1.58. Operating and maintenance of the lines. That's it was our responsibility to operate. We are not proposing to raise that. We're only proposing to raise the increase that the town has passed on to us. Operation and maintenance will still be $1.58 per 1,000. And the $35 service charge per quarter is the same. We're not raising that. Okay. Is there any questions on that from anyone? If not, I need a motion to approve the new rate at $684,000, keeping the same $1.58 on top of that, plus $684 plus $1.58. $842 total for water usage. If I can have a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion to raise it to 6 for the 99 cents. Leave it, the service charge remain the same, and
The quarterly charge is the same.
quarterly charge, and leave the quarterly charge the same.
Yes. Okay. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Is there any questions on this? Roll call vote. Craig?
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Bruce?
Yes.
Jules?
Yes.
Yes for myself. Now, we need to address the sewer rates. Presently, they're charging us $13.45 per 1,000, and it's going to $14.39. It's 90-some cent raise. And there we charge, I believe, it's $1.35 operating and maintenance of those lines. We're not proposing to increase that operation and maintenance, only the fee per 1,000 gallons usage that the village is charging us for the sewer rates. So I would need a motion to approve the new sewer rates. The rate would be $14.39 plus $1.35 for a total of $15.74.
I'll make a motion to raise the sewer rate from $14.39 to $15.74, that dollar, was it $35?
$1.35.
And leave the service charge the same.
Okay. I need a second for that.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any questions?
Were these people notified that they'd be having these increases?
They were not going to have an increase until tonight when if it passes. So after tonight, we do need to notify them all.
I will send them up, everybody a letter.
These rates are as of their July billing, am I correct? Okay, so they will be notified immediately, next 2 or 3 days here, of the new rates. And the rates are only reflecting the increase that we got from the village, not our service charges or our quarterly charge.
And they're paying this before or after this period? First of the month or last of the month?
The bills will go out July 1st.
For July? Paying it ahead.
Are they paying ahead?
Well, this will be second quarter.
Were they paying ahead of the quarter or, rear of the quarter?
No,
The July billing is for April, May, and June.
April, May, and
In
June.
the
yeah.
rear.
Okay, and how long do they have after July 1st to pay?
They gotta be paid by August 1st. They got 30 days.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? All those,
It seems to me that if we're raising people's rates, they should be notified that it's on the agenda. And that
well,
they're going to be affected.
Us Mike never tells you.
it was on the agenda that we're having a public hearing.
You haven't given the bill.
Any other questions?
They should
Not-
be notified. Question.
If not, we need a roll call vote. Craig?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes.
Jules?
Yes.
Yes for myself. Thank you on that. Michael, do you have any reports for zoning and code enforcement office?
Yeah, I have a few things here. The South Street project, I met with the engineer, Matt Cooper from Bernier Carr, and he did fax me a cost here. We're looking at doing an alternative system and what this would cost. And it comes out to do the 13 homes in that area. The material cost alone is $63,500. We need about 5 acres of land, so you'd have to factor that in, how much that would cost.
You need fire.
Yes.
Yes.
You need fire in it?
Yes, that's what he's saying in here, and that would allow for 50% expansion for future use.
It's probably just as well that I haven't made contacts with this person because I've been there twice and he was out. I had to catch him early in the morning. Because I told somebody in their office that we're looking for 2 acres.
Yeah, well,
So now it'll be 5 acres. So it's probably just go ahead and talk to them.
The other thing we were looking at is if this does go forward, I mean, you have to factor all of what this is gonna cost each individual, because they're the ones that are gonna be paying for this in the long run. If the town puts the system in, this is a traditional giant septic system. It's not a tank, it's not an aeration system, it's a regular septic system.
Regular.
If we get into tanks and aeration systems, you have to have a licensed wastewater treatment plant operator, and that's a whole new ballgame with sampling and regulations. So Matt's advice was that this was the cheapest of the ones that he looked at. So we'd have to figure out.
Do we need to call for a public hearing on that?
There would be a public hearing when you form the district for those people, but we're just gathering information as to the cost, what it's gonna cost each one to do this, because it's gonna be their district, their own district. System would be owned by the town, but it'd be like any other sewer district, except this is an alternative system. Maybe Mr. Clark from RCAP has some money for us here. You bring his checkbook tonight?
I can lend you money, but you may be able to get money at a better rate than my organization.
Yeah, I know we talked about that.
But this kind of decentralized wastewater system is very much the new best way to do business, and it's just a matter of figuring out how you're gonna pay for
I mean,
it. $6,000-7,000 a house, hey, that's a lot. I just had to build a new septic system in my house, and it cost $20,000, so you got a good price so far. I mean,
62,000?
63.
That was materials.
That's just material.
Materials.
That doesn't count the land.
it
The land-
doesn't cost,
It's not labor either.
no, if we do this in-house, you'd have to figure a budget, how much, the town would do it, but I'm trying to figure the cheapest way here. And the only reason I want to add also is you just did the water and sewer rates from the village of Champlain. The water and sewer rates, you saw what the prices come out to. It wasn't feasible for these people to hook into those systems. That's why we're going this route. And it just wasn't cost effective at all. So,
No, it's prohibitive, the price was prohibitive,
Yes.
this would not fly.
I mean, we met with the village trying to negotiate better water and sewer rates, but they have their budget and their issues, I'm sure, so this is the best we could come up with. And in talking with the engineers, alternative systems are a new wave, apparently. A lot of places are looking into doing it. So if we can do it and it's affordable, I don't see why not.
Do we need board approval for the engineers to go ahead with this? If they're already on?
Well, yeah, you need the approval for the contract there for up to $1,500.
Okay.
But once we get the price of the land factored into this cost and come up with some sort of idea what it would cost in man hours, equipment, and machinery for the town to do this, then we can come up with a scenario of what each homeowner would be responsible for. And if you factor it out over 20 years or 30 years, however, the mortgage, it's like a mortgage basically. And ultimately, the people have to decide that they either want to go this way or not. If they don't go this way, or any other way that comes up, then eventually they're going to be on their own to solve their own problems. We have that consent order. And that order is saying that by August 1st, we have to have a district formed, or we have to get out of it, and it would revert back to the property owners that are in violation down there. There's 5 of them that are in violation. There are 13 total homes. Now, I've already gotten calls that the ones that have good septics or recent septics, they don't want to be responsible for any added cost. I don't really blame them, but what do you do 5-10 years down the road when those systems fail because of the small lot sizes or for whatever reasons, now they want to get into the system? I mean, if this is going to be a new district, I would think everybody gets in it.
Or if they sell their home.
Well, there's a lot of what ifs yet that have to be ironed out, but,
If the land is not available, is that
well,
put the end to the discussion?
if it's not available or if it's too much money and it prices the project way out of reach, then obviously, it would be a venture not worth going into, I would imagine.
We need to know this by our July meeting.
Oh, yeah, we'll have this the next couple of weeks. We're gonna get with the property owner and see what price of land is gonna be, if it's available, and get with Alan and a few other people. Have sharp pencils here, figure out what this is gonna cost, and if we wanna do it.
What happens if they can't afford it? Is the EC going to find them?
If they can't afford it, there are, Mr. Clark can probably help out on this. If they're under a consent order and they can't afford it, I'm pretty sure there are programs available through the health department, the DEC, that would help pay for these systems, individual ITS systems.
I think the big question is whether or not there are soils and land available next to individual homes to make it possible to individually solve the problem.
That's the big problem. These are small lots
Right.
on the side of a hill in Clay Lane.
That's always the problem. So it's a single larger solution that the town is in charge of, that the town manages, which is called decentralized wastewater management. It's not an alternative kind of technique. It's still leach field pipes and water going into pipes. It's the same thing that works best for all the rest of it. It looks like about $500 a year for 20 years if everything goes well. And we can buy a land for $25,000, something like that.
So that would fall under the,
That's a wild guess on the price, but not totally wild. I do this all the time.
but that $500 number, that falls within the state's magic number you have to hit to get funding. Because we can apply for grants through this, through
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
EFC and all these other organizations. So-
As long as it's considered affordable. I believe the state cutoff number is like 530.
Right.
So it's that, you've got to be able to do it for that price or they won't help fund it.
And you don't have time to apply for those grants, though, if they,
Well, there are other alternatives. I mean, the town could lend the money, so to speak, until the grants come in, then you fill the pail back up. I mean, you gotta think outside the box.
Right? Yeah. That's what happens to most of these.
Okay.
If you start the project, you probably can't get the grant.
This is true, I mean.
No, I mean, that doesn't, is that my right? In some
I
most
actually
cases-
spoke with Fred Testa at the Environmental Finance, EFC, today about that. He was up here not too long ago, and you mentioned that you had spoken with Fred. And I've worked with Fred for many years, and we were throwing some numbers around, and, you know, it's possible for you to go ahead and start the project and roll the funding up later. But you don't want to start until you're pretty sure you know exactly what you're doing.
Well, if they approve it, you can start the project. Probably take 2 years to get the money, but they made a commitment to give you the money.
And they're working on that right now in Albany.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the South Street. You have a copy of the annual water report that we always get from the county. And the Village of Champlain also gets a copy of this, and some of what's in there impacts them. Some of it are issues we have to deal with. They want us to put a fence up around our pump station on the Ridge Road. Apparently, it's not secure enough. We need a cross-contamination control law for backflow preventers and whatnot. And this is supposed to be implemented by July of 2006. I've talked with Woody at the village, and Doug Ferris is drafting their law for them. But ours should basically mirror what they have, because, I mean, we're using their system, so we're more or less waiting for Doug to come up with what the law would look like, and then, you know, we'd have to adopt it here or modify it or whatever. Got the letter from the fire department. The West Service Road, I've gotten a few more calls this past month about what we're doing up there. And again, we're waiting for the shared services money to you know, if we're gonna get anything, and there's no word on when that's gonna be coming in. So, I don't know if these people are getting impatient or if the health department is pushing them to push the town, but at some point in time, we're gonna have to make a decision as to what we're gonna do with that. And that's all commercial up there. That would be an economic development loan. You can't get shared or BWRF money, the state revolving fund, stuff for that. And that's about all I have.
Okay. You have a copy of the planning board minutes of April 6th in your packet. We have a letter from Mr. Alan Weinrub, attorney at law. There's a letter and a map of the area, elevation area of his property and adjoining properties. He's telling us that his property is 10 foot lower, I believe, than adjoining property that has a proposed junkyard application. We did address the fire district's burning issue. We have a letter from the real property office. Tentative equalization rate is at 100% for the town of Champlain. We have a proposal, I should call it, from Bob Rogers, our Human Resources Consultant out of Syracuse, to adopt a policy for our policy handbook pertaining to transitional or light-duty work. It's recommending that we approve a 60-day transitional assignment to light duty, and after that, it has to be on compensation. Light duty's not forever. I need some direction from the board to approve or not to approve for the policy handbook on the traditional work assignments.
Make a motion to approve this.
Okay.
I read.
Okay. I have a motion to approve This proposal from Bob Rogers for a 60-day transitional light-duty work assignment. I need a second for that motion.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion on this? Roll call vote. Craig?
No.
John?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes?
Jules?
Yes.
And yes for myself. Passes. We have a letter from Time Warner Cable, check that came to us for $2,056 for the first quarter of 2006. I would like a motion to approve Julie Castine as our Deputy Code Enforcement Officer. She has all the certifications. This would be to fill in when Mike's not in the building, or not available for reasons of either vacation, sick time, or whatever. It's a certification that she already has in place.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any questions on this? Roll call vote on this also. Craig?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes?
Jules?
Yes.
And yes for myself. Thank you. Just a letter from Environmental Facilities Corporation. The grant has been awarded to Rusty Creek Farms. This is for something on the farm now, nothing to do with us as a town. It's only a letter of information. Earth Science Engineering sent us a letter. It's a gentleman I did not know, but I got to meet, Mark Chauvin. He is working for a company out of Willsboro that we had used. He stopped in to visit with me for future reference only. I have the work schedule for the Fridays that Jim Gaino and Clinton County Real Property Office will be here in the building. It's every Friday this month. I have a letter from the Clinton County Planning Department advising us that there's 2 farms within our township, Drew's Poultry and Francis Lawrence Farm, who have applied for development rights. It's a program that's, I think it's been ongoing now for 2 or 3 years. Other farms have been accepted. These are 2 farms that are applying for 2006. That's for your information only. I have a letter from Debbie LaLauncher requesting a proclamation from the town pertaining to St. Mary's Academy celebrating their 100 years of mission and presence in the town of Champlain. And you have a copy of the proclamation, if it's so desired of the board. We had this drawn up, if it's your pleasure to approve. I need a motion to approve, or if we want to.
Motion to approve. Proclamation.
Okay. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. USDA Rural Development Open House coming up on June 14th, that's like tomorrow, in Plattsburgh. Supervisor and council members. The next thing on the agenda is the junkyard applications of Mr. Dennis Richards. I need a motion one way or the other on this one.
I make a motion, we approve the application, just to the open discussion.
Okay,
We're going to discuss these requirements. I think we do approve it. That these conditions be added.
the motion is to approve, I assume, with
With
conditions.
these
Conditions, okay.
conditions added as we go through discussion.
Okay, I'm listening, go ahead.
only gonna be storing scrap metal and wood products.
Okay.
First, the hours of operation would be limited to whatever he had in his application, which was 7:30 a.m., 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday, 7:30 until noon on Saturdays, and closed on Sundays. Is that correct?
Correct.
There'll be no burning or burying of junk on the property. No hazardous waste. There will be biannual inspections of the junkyard by the town of Champlain code enforcement officer to make sure all of these provisions and conditions are met. There will be an annual testing of the water from the wells on his property, since they are the closest to where he's having this facility. Discussing with a lawyer, we really can't put this regulation in, but it's suggested that traffic flow be westerly out of the property. Although if a truck gets lost, it can go in any direction. You must comply with all other conditions of the town of Champlain junk and vehicle storage law, and compliance with all local, state, and federal laws. It's also suggested you have a sign at the entrance of the property directing people where his business is, rather than have these trucks wander all over the town roads trying to find his business.
Okay.
Those are just suggestions. If anyone else has anything else to add,
I take it as part of the motion that you made, Bill.
yes, these would be part of the motion.
You want to add insurance on that? Insurance?
Insurance?
Yeah, we, well, not requested, we require. Is it liability, is that what you would call it?
Yeah, there's a requirement under the junk and vehicle storage law that there be an insurance binder in place, and I believe Dennis may have given that to Mickey. I thought last meeting I was told that he had.
I have
A proposal.
a proposal from an insurance company that pending the decision of whether he's approved or disapproved, if he's approved, it would be implemented, I guess, lack of words.
And that would come under, I believe, the conditions that was mentioned about compliance with all the conditions of our junk and vehicle storage law. That's a requirement, clearance requirement, and you would just have to make sure Dennis would be in compliance with that.
And we also include the variances he's requested. There was a fencing requirement in our code, 12-foot fence. I mean, with the wind around here, a 12-foot fence would never last. You'd have to build it of iron probably. So he's asking for a variance on that. And the setback requirements for the Leduc and Bayshore property, and the wetland setback.
I also have written down here, the junkyard is only to be, the piece of property is only on, it's the map that we were presented on January 5th, 2006, of the area that it would be located at. It's no other area, it's just that one particular area. I believe it was 4 acres, if I'm correct.
It was the map Neil Carey prepared. I don't know if it was given to us on 1506, maps dated 1506.
Okay. Okay.
We also mentioned before, we do not want any disassembling of automobiles or tires on the property. And he assured us that it's not his purpose.
Okay. The items to be stored, it says here, is junk and scrap metal and wood products only. Okay. That's what I'm reading. Is there any other terms or conditions that the board might want to set here?
I think the public should be aware that we all have gone out to see the property and walked through it and seen the distance between the neighbors and his property. And what he wants to do there, I don't see how it's going to disturb the neighbors. And with these constant monitoring of these things, I don't see how it'd be in violation without us knowing.
Take public comment here?
Yes, I will.
You haven't seconded your motion yet.
Yeah, I know I haven't, but I understand that.
Thank you. Alan Weinrop, and I'm a downhill property owner I'm also an uphill property owner. When we were here last time discussing it, said I really don't have any power over somebody doing what they want to do with their property. I don't mind somebody doing what they want to do with their property as long as they do it in accordance with law. And I think that's the American way. But a good portion of our land is downhill, and I just don't think that an annual testing of the water would be sufficient. I'd like to see it on a more frequent basis. And I don't think that the downstream property owners should bear the cost of that. It's good they got liability insurance, and that's a good thing. In case that there is a problem, that's something to go after. But it's concerned about hazardous chemicals seeping into the soil, being carried by water. The water table there is rather high at times, and we don't want any poisons carried onto our land, and we'd like the testing to be more frequent than annual.
Mickey, do you know, or Mr. Madonna, would you, either one of you know the liability limit that we asked for? You know that company?
I think it's 300,000 and they're proposing $1 million.
I didn't realize he had it right with him.
Insurance is in section 8, I think D4. All junkyards should maintain general liability issuance in an amount of at least $200,000. Proof of insurance must be furnished for the junk storage area at the time the license is renewed or applied for. I believe our limits exceed those. It is exactly at the policies in place, except you have been not named, so that's the contingency. It is in place for his operation. You will be named afterwards, and it exceeds your limitations.
Does any other board member have any questions? Yes, Bruce.
I would have to modify instead of annual testing, but twice a year. That would satisfy this man's concerns. What do the other people think? Here.
Does any other board member have anything to add?
Are you seeking, just so I understand, Bruce, to amend your motion to require biannual testing of the water from well? Okay.
Now, who's going to do the testing? County? Third party?
It has to be an independent.
I would think it'd be a third party, independent.
Yes.
Your ordinance doesn't have that requirement, and that condition is really just to monitor what? An off-site thing, or just we're monitoring our site for water?
Correct.
That would be on his property, because when I
understand.
observed up there, his wells are closer than anybody else's.
Yeah, there's a well right to the north of the metal building, probably within, 50 feet probably.
So it's 2 times a year. When is that? Every 6 months?
I would say that'd be fair.
Then what I'm going to ask you is, then after we get no problem, the next year on the annual basis, I'd like to address that issue. Our water test shows that there's no limits have been exceeded. In our test, I'd ask you is, what test am I doing? Bacterial or what? So, Tom, tell us what type of test so we know we want to be in compliance, and I think next year I'll address the issue after I know what the facts are. It's a precaution.
Yeah.
Dennis wants to do it just once, we'll do it twice, but if he continues to show nothing, then I'm going to come back next year and say, well, look, how many times, because it's something to give the neighbors protection, I understand that, but if it doesn't show anything, then I'm going to ask you to address it next year, so I understand that. One clarification point while I'm up. I want to be clear. The issues of the stored items, did you read that from the application?
Dennis indicated that's what he was going to store there.
Scrap metal, the wood products, and the automobiles.
The automobiles is separate.
Well, you're already storing the automobiles,
Okay.
you already have permission for that.
That's not part of your junkyard.
Just wanted to see if you're putting it all together.
No. I want to make sure the scrap metals, I identify appliances with doors removed, freon removed, and so stamped. So that is scrap metals.
Yep.
And used metals from non-functional equipment and machinery, no hazardous stores. I just see, sir, I can't read your name from that far, but you read something, I read it in the application. I want to make sure there's no question that That's what we're asking for. I also pointed out that he stores there rails and cedar fence acquired from non-junk items, and he resells those in his existing business. I want to make sure there's not a problem for Mike. He comes in and says that's junk. If it is, I want to be resolved now. We buy those things, rail fences and cedar posts. So if someone goes and puts a complaint in, we consider that non-junk. If you consider it junk, I'd like to incorporate it. I don't want to have an argument after we go.
I think you also mentioned wood products, which I think we were talking about. The
Railroad rail.
the railroad ties and the cedar posts.
And the rails.
Okay, thanks.
It all sounds well and good right now, but I can tell you that I've lost a year in organic certification because I've had pressure-treated spikes in the ground last year. My agronomist just scratched us for last year's experience, even though we used no fertilizers, no herbicides, no insecticides, nothing at all, because we use pressurized wood. There are very strict requirements. I understand that it's not fair to put strict requirements onto a neighbor. I also understand it's not fair for a neighbor to put water on our property or anybody else's property, especially if it's polluted. To answer Mr. Madonna's question, I think what we're concerned about more than bacteria is chemical. And I would ask this board to take an attitude that's prophylactic and preventative, as opposed to we want insurance because when the problem happens, we want to be sure that there's adequate money to respond to the damages that somebody's had. We don't want somebody to have any damages, okay? We don't want anybody to have any problems. We don't want Mr. Richards to have any problems from our property. We don't want to have any problems from Mr. Richards' property. I think it's being a good neighbor. I think being prophylactic is wise. I think that biannual is not enough. I think quarterly would be a minimum to protect the public in this matter.
Do you know what type of test we should have?
As far as testing, it should be certainly bacterial testing, chemical testing. I mean, we don't need to get into coliform or things of that nature, which would be waste, but certainly bacterial and chemical testing should be required.
Tom, let me just actually reconsider something. This is a junkyard. If anything, I would probably ask for a metal test.
Right.
And that is not bacteria when it's not really chemical. If you can just give me the parameters, I'd like to go to alchemy, give you an idea, and you approve it. But bacteria is really not going to come up because you can treat bacteria. But we'll do it. But I'm just trying to say, I think the real test is, are there metals? There's something coming off the metals that we're storing there and going in. And I think it'd be a metal test, because if I was going to order one, that's what I would be ordering. But I don't want to argue with you. I'm trying to do it, but I want it clear, because I don't want you to turn around and say you lost your license because we didn't do it. So if you could just give me the parameters, Tom, we'll do it.
I still think the bacterial, chemical, and metal test. By chemical, I was assuming metal as well, so I'm sorry if I didn't say metal per se, but those three are the tests that should be required.
Okay. Does anyone from the audience have anything else?
I've got a question.
Yes.
To Dennis, how come the posts are on my land that you put up? Near your driveway?
I think it is. I think it's in the middle of the road. I measured it from the middle of the road. It's in the down ditch.
No, but still my frontage.
I'll move it.
Because I asked Mr. Carey where the line was and all, and he told me where the pin was, and it's quite a ways away from where the pin is. I mean, it's okay if it's there, but I want you to know that it's on one side.
We'll move it.
Okay. Did you have something else, Mr.
No, sir.
Okay. Does any other board member have anything else they want to discuss before I ask for a second for this motion?
Just one thing, at the very beginning, we were told that the aquifer went north, not towards Mr. Weintraub's property. It would be an extreme flooding situation if that would happen, I would think.
Just to address your concern, I thought so as well. Okay, that's why I asked the county planning board for an elevation map. And actually, you can see that that water runs two ways. That water runs south because of gravity, but then it takes a dip and it runs east as well. Under the road, there's a spring on our property that runs under a culvert onto Mr. Richards' property. Okay? Definitely, you can see it. Just look at it, it's right there. But there's also, he's on the top of the hill, about 165 feet up. Okay? We're 160 to 150, we're about 155, and we're directly southeast of him. And I wish him all the best with his operation. I just don't want anybody to be harmed by that water, and I don't want it to have to do with our crops.
Tom, would you review the restrictions as you understand them?
Sure. My understanding is that the motion is to approve. And as far as the variances, again, there were 3 variances being sought by Mr. Richard. 1 being the fencing requirement, 2 being the setbacks from the adjoining properties of Leduc and Bayshard, and 3 being the wetland setback. And those are items in our junk and vehicle storage law. The conditions that I understood that Bruce mentioned was the area to be used for junkyard is as indicated on the map that was presented with the application, in particular the map of Neil Carey dated 1506. And the items to be stored is just the junk metal, scrap metal, and wood products as described. The hours of operation, I think were as cited as the condition that was set. Again, no burning or burying of junk on the property, no hazardous waste. Biannual inspections of the junkyard by the Town of Champlain Code Enforcement Officer, biannual testing of the water to be performed by Mr. Richards from the wells on the subject property. Those tests would be bacterial, chemical, and metal. That Mr. Richards should at least recommend and or require drivers that are delivering or picking up materials at his property to basically, I guess, go southerly on Leggett Road, or go westerly, southwesterly on Leggett Road, heading towards 87 rather than some alternate ways. Even though obviously we can't guarantee, and we understand that you can't guarantee that every single driver is going to abide by that. Mr. Rich will comply with all the conditions of the Town of Champlain junk and vehicle storage law, that he'll comply with all their state, county, and local laws that would apply to a use such as this. If the sign was desired, and we kind of recommended that a sign might be used, that he comply with the requirements of the Town of Champlain zoning ordinance for that sign, and provide us with the necessary insurance as indicated in the regulations.
Just to clarify, Tom, on wetlands issue, I'm asking for the 500, but I will comply with the 100 requirement.
Correct.
We are not making any improvements, even though the improved area is within there. So I don't want anything that we're trying to prove anything within. We will honor that 100-foot setback.
Understood. You comply with the DEC requirement.
Yes.
Our requirement is 500.
Okay.
That's the motion, as I understand.
We just reviewed, I had Tom review the motion as he understood it, with all the requirements of the application and variances. I need a second to this motion.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any other questions before I ask for a vote?
I'd like to ask something.
I think the motion's been seconded. I don't believe there can be any more discussion other than board discussion.
Okay. Does any other board member have anything they want to discuss on this issue?
I just think we've tried our best to limit things and satisfy our concerns of the people.
Okay. I need a roll call vote. Craig?
Yes.
John?
No.
Bruce?
Yes.
Jules?
Yes.
And no for myself. It's a 3-2 vote. Motion passes. Alan, do you have a highway department's update? on
Yep.
roads and-
I'm getting ready to pave the Creek Road to Southwood Road in another month. I'd like to get the board closer cost, like right now, but I can't. The price of tires fluctuates so much. Be another month before we can pave, so I'll be closer in the next board meeting to give you an actual cost amount and be sure myself that way there. I don't have to be undercut myself. Other than that, we've been mowing the sides of the road, keeping things up.
Does any board member have any questions for Alan, the highway department?
Selfish.
South. It's a total of just a little over 3 miles, I believe.
Yeah, 3.1.
3.1 miles. We have intentions of blacktopping, repaving this summer.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you gonna be starting work on Golf Course Road?
Yep, as soon as we get the, stop raining.
Okay. Building committee, Jules and Bruce.
Really, we are not quite complete with the garage, rain again. Get a couple more days, be all done.
Okay, the front of the garage, you finished today, around the doors, it looks very good.
Yes.
We had a problem waiting for the metal, and of course it was raining, so
It looks very good.
we'll have that done. We're still waiting for the newer parts on top.
And we need to get that eave spout.
As soon as he's done, we'll release it.
I called,
You called on that?
I called Roberts and I for each, only 8 foot.
They got to fix the front, but I wanted to wait until they were done.
Yeah.
And we got a couple extensions to put in the ground.
Okay. The building's starting to look real good out there. Somebody have a question? Okay. Anything else, Jules?
That's it.
Grants committee, I know nothing to you.
Just to reiterate what Mickey said, the SMSI grant. We have no word on that yet as far as the study. And I was asked at the shared services meeting to talk to the board and possibly set up a petition, talk to the people from the mouth of the river up to the railroad bed in Lakeshore Road, as far as getting them to sign a petition and seeing if they're in favor of dredging of the river and potentially looking into seeing what grants are available out there. So I am looking at that, and if any other board member has any advice or anything, I'd like to
Who dredged the river last, and do you know when it was? Anybody know that?
20 years is what I was told. It's been
Okay.
about 20 years.
You know, seems to me it was like 95 or 96. Maybe I'm wrong. Seems I just moved up here when
I just know that the talk at the shared services meeting was that boats are having a hard time getting through there.
shouldn't be this time of year. So it's really gonna be bad.
Well, it is.
August, September.
I know, but this is unusually high this time of year.
It's just been expressed that it's something that should be looked at and that there are grants out there that are available for this. So I am looking into that.
Okay. Board of Assessment Review, John, I know nothing. Okay. The Highway Committee, Jules and John Paul?
We're talking about a lot of different little things, but the weather has been undue favorable here for what you want to do, so.
Weather's,
We're hoping that this golf course deal, we're hoping to be in full swing of it at this time, but it's not happening, and most times they're going down and it dries up.
right, the weather,
So he's doing some other work there right now, so.
a lot of our work is weather related for sure. Water and Sewer Committee, Mike, I don't believe you have anything else extra or
No,
additional?
that's all I had.
That's pretty much covers it, what we already covered. Okay. Landfill Committee, Jules and John Paul?
I was up there last week with Alan to show what had to be done there with the year and so on. But here again, it's too wet to do anything up there.
I'm sure it's very wet.
I hadn't mowed in the area anyway.
No, no.
We got a bit of dirt work to do up there, but wait till it dries up.
Okay, thank you. Town Clerk's report, Julie?
Yeah, we have 3 abandoned vehicles right now in the back by the garage. And I'm not sure what the town board would like to do with them. We have a 1992 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, a 1995 Pontiac Grand Am, and a 1980 Ford Ranger. We got a bid from B&B Salvage today for $330 that they would come and get them. The problem is, we've notified one.
Come and get them or come and give you the money?
Well,
They're
they'll
gonna pay
pay
you
us,
that.
yeah, they'll pay us.
That's
to
for all 3 now.
Pay us for the vehicles. I mean, you can go out to bid for them,
From on eBay.
Sell the Ford, sell the...
Two of them, we don't have any record who owns them. I called the Department of Motor Vehicle, I called the state police on the VIN numbers, and they're not on file. One of them, we do know who owns it, and she's been to court here, and Jack said just to go ahead and do whatever with the car, because apparently she's not coming to get it.
That's
Not gonna come
been,
get it?
that's been several months,
Yes.
several months,
Over a year.
yes.
How long have the other cars, how the other cars get here?
The abandoned cars that were towed here,
By who? People just abandon them in the parking lot, and we ended up with them.
We have to pay them off.
We do, okay.
We have to pay them.
Okay.
I mean, there's one car that I know, the Oldsmobile, I believe, we got a $108 toll charge. And here we've been offered $110 just to get it out of our yard.
I mean, they all have high mileage on them. I don't think they're much good at it.
No,
Well, none of them have even been running.
no, and you can't put them on the road. You'll never get a tussle.
Well, might as well have the fellow come and get them.
Pay it up.
Pay the towing fees of what money you give us.
It's the wishes of the board. If I have a motion, I'll entertain a motion
Make a motion to get rid of them.
in which fashion? This offer that we've been offered?
Yep.
Okay,
I'll second that motion.
that's $110 per car, $330 for the 3 cars. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
What about the fire departments? Could they use them for practice?
We could, but I can't speak for the
You're
fire
not gonna
department.
get you $300 for them.
What?
You're not gonna get you $300 for
They
them.
don't,
They're gonna come
they don't have
along.
any, they don't have any problems getting cars.
You do now.
Now, you do now? Well, probably a little bit more than you used to.
They're $110 a piece.
Well, scrap metal happens to be up right now. 6 months from now, it could be half that, you know. In fact, I was on the internet today that all metals went down big time today. Gold, copper, oil even dropped below $70 a barrel today. So I have a motion. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Everything else, Julie?
Nope, that's it.
I need a motion to approve the monthly bills.
I make a motion to pay the monthly bill.
I need a second.
Second.
Any questions on the monthly bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Need a motion to approve the post audit bills?
Make a motion to pay the post on bills.
Second.
Any questions on the post audit bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. You have revenues for May, you have a list of those. Disbursements for May, you have those, expense reports. The only other thing I have to bring before the board is Northeastern School was requested the use of this building in September, this room, this particular room, for the GED class, Monday and Wednesday mornings. I need a motion to approve if so desired.
I make a motion to let them use the building and during the week, as long as there's no other town business
Okay?
that it interferes with.
Okay. That's the second, I take it. The head was going nodding.
I'm sorry.
Is there any questions on this one? Mondays and Wednesdays morning, 8:30 till noon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also carried. Does any other board member have anything to bring before the board before I proceed to close?
I'd like to go into executive session for judges, personnel, or
Okay?
executive session.
Okay. John, you had something you wanted to do?
Yeah. The fire district will be bringing ISO in this summer. What ISO is the people that make the ratings for your fire insurance. It's a twofold deal. We want to see if we can bring the ratings up now, or actually down now. And even if we can't bring them down now, we are trying to find out what we've got to do to drop your insurance rates. These people sent this with all the stuff. We're probably going to need some information from your people. That's what I'm looking for is the dry hydrant, stuff like this. All of this stuff is recorded. This is kind of a first time through for us, but it's a necessary thing so that we know what direction to follow to go into. We've got a new truck now, and we've got quite a bit of stuff, so hopefully it's going to help us out a little bit on that. And even if it doesn't, this is going to tell us where we've got to go, what we've got to do, whether we got to put more dry hydrants in, what do we got to do, and stuff like this. So there's probably going to be some information, probably from Alan or the boys and stuff like that. I'm just asking for your blessing so that we can come down and get any information that we need to do this. I mean, it's only going to help the taxpayers of the community in what their insurance rates is what it
And
is.
we'll share any information we have with you, gladly.
Thank you.
We might have a little bit of money left over in that deal there.
For fire hydrants?
Yeah.
Dry fire hydrants?
I don't know, I haven't checked to see
Yes,
where
if
we're at.
I'm correct, we got $2,000 to $3,000, I believe, I was told, left over.
So I even know that we have some money to pay for some of this.
If there's ever a need for another dry fire
So
hydrant
we'll
somewhere,
find you a place. There's no problem there.
well, let us know and check with me on that, and I will bring it before the board. I believe there
But
is.
this is the information that we're trying to get out of these people so that we're headed in the right direction, and how to set the trucks up and stuff like this.
There is a little bit
And
of money left in that fund. I do
what
know.
they do is they'll pick up a place and you gotta supply so much water for so much time and stuff like this, and it's quite an involved thing. It's in all the time that I've been in the fire service, this is the first time I'm going through it. But it's once we get all this information and stuff like that, then we can just keep adding to it. It's like an inventory. But we've got to get set up, and there's a lot to it.
We'll do
So
whatever we can.
like I said, any help that we could get from this, I would really appreciate.
We'll do anything we can from this.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, what you've done for us. I do have a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have one question before you go. Is anybody going to that USDA open house tomorrow from the board?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of members.
Mayor Moore,
Here.
Trustee Kim Trombley, Trustee Martin,
Here.
Trustee Southwick,
Here.
Trustee Garrett, here.
Okay, we now submit the minutes of the last meeting for approval. We have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Not all in favor of approving the minutes of previous meetings, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, at this time, we will have a presentation of petitions, communications, notices, and general question period for members of the community. I just want to remind everybody that you should state your name and place of residence. Before speaking, and limit your talk to 5 minutes. We also would like to welcome Celine Paquette, our county legislator, here today. I'm sure she'll have something to say for us in a few minutes. Okay, is there any public comment?
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is Jeff Martin. I am a resident of Cedar Street. I'm a recent resident of Champlain. I moved here about 7 months ago. The reason I'm here today is to discuss with you about the situation we have with the local Barkle flood zone. I know by the looks that you guys have heard this before. The thing is, every night we have fights there. The police are called. They hardly respond now. It's not a safe area for my child. It's not a good area for a resident. It's not a good place for a residential area to have a bar. I've tried to communicate with the owner of the flood zone. His attitude is, you know, there's nothing that's going to happen that's going to move them out of there. People leave that place visibly intoxicated, even in the afternoons, not only at night. There's been rumors that people are being served underage, and I know that's speculation, but still, it's got many people in the community concerned. Beer cans are being thrown in their yards. Fights are coming up the streets. And Friday night, you can pretty much guarantee there's going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight in the parking lot every Friday night. The music is so loud, it shakes our windows, and nothing is done. The police, they respond.